Beach Grand Dance, St. George's Arena. The following were issues that we spent some considerable time on and concluded as in the following. Council received the Governor's report of the monetary and credit conditions in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. The report assessed the recent trends in monetary and credit conditions for the period April 2017 to March 2018. Within the context of the bank's broader objectives of ensuring the stability of the exchange rate in the financial system, the Council was apprised of the following. The global output is estimated to have risen to 3.8% in 2017 and is forecast to continue rising in 2018 and 2019 to a projected 3.9%. With strong global economic growth, it is anticipated that ECC member countries will benefit from positive spillover, including increased tourism, foreign direct investment, and remittances. The money and credit conditions continue to show general improvement, but domestic credit conditions were less than optimal. Domestic credit fell by 1.2% to $9.7 billion. Growth in the money supply increased by 4.1% to $17.1 billion at the 31st of March 2018. The currency union's exchange rate arrangement continued to be supported by a strong and growing stock of foreign currency reserves. The state of the monetary and credit conditions, the Monetary Council agreed to maintain the minimum savings deposit rate at 2% and the central bank discount rate at 6.5%. The minimum savings rate is the lowest rate that the commercial banks can offer on savings deposits. Therefore, the central bank's discount rate is the rate at which the ECCB lends to commercial banks and governments. Financial stability. The Council was informed that as March 31st, 2018, the ECCU banking sector was assessed as stable. Although generally speaking, banks are in compliance with capital requirements, there is a need to strengthen capital given the impact of non-performing loans, growth strategies, and the likely effects of Basel II-3 and the IFRS 9 requirements. With respect to the banking sector, Council also noted as of 31st March 2018, total assets increased by 3.9% to $30.8 billion, 156.3% of GDP. Deposits increased by 3.6% to $21.6 billion, 109% of GDP. Loans and advances had a nominal contraction of 0.1% to $12.2 billion, 61.9% of GDP. The non-performing loan ratio increased from 10.9% to 12%. Council was also updated on the status of the ECCU Credit Bureau project. It noted that the following requests for proposal, 2 firms had been shortlisted and site visits were being planned. It is estimated that the evaluation committee will recommend a firm by September 2018, and that firm will be licensed to operate by December 2018. Council therefore reaffirmed its desire to have the Bureau launched by June 2019. Council was also notified of the reconstitution of the Eastern Caribbean Payments Council system. Given the importance of a stable, efficient, and secure payment system, Council fully endorsed the objectives and functions of the reconstituted ECPC and gave its commitment to support further developments, including the modernization of the ECC Union payment system. The third area, growth and competitiveness. As it relates to growth, Council noted that the real economic activity in the region is projected to expand by 1.7% in 2018. Council was also briefed on the status of the Eastern Caribbean Partial Credit Guarantee Corporation Agreement, which came into being on 7th May 2018, and noting that 6 participating governments had enacted the legislation and funding was secured from the World Bank with St. Kitts and Nevis self-financing. The ECCBConnects is scheduled to become operational by December 2018, and Council therefore ratified its decision on the nominees for the ECCBConnects Board of Directors. Council also noted the recent dialogue between the ECCB and Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, exploring various options to address issues relating to the difficulties with payment settlements for traders selling agricultural produce in Trinidad and Tobago. Export from the Technical Core Committee on Insurance, BICO and CLECO. Council was informed that of the funds available for distribution, 98% was distributed to ECC dollar policy holders and 76% to U.S. policy holders under the Plan of Arrangement BICO and Act on December 18, 2016. The change of substrate from the ECCB banknotes. Council ratified the decision on the design for the new family of ECCB polymer banknotes. And this notes offer the advantages of a more advanced security feature and greater durability. Circulation notes is scheduled for mid-2019. Date and venue of the 92nd meeting of the Monetary Council. Council agreed to the convening of this 92nd meeting of the Monetary Council on Friday, 26 October 2018 via video conferences. The last item was a list of all the members of who attended the Monetary Council meeting. So, colleagues, this represents the communique of the Monetary Council for the 92nd meeting of the Monetary Council held here in Guyana and St. George's. I would now ask my colleague, my friend is saying that he doesn't wish to add anything to the communique. So, colleagues, the floor will now open for questions faced to us, the both of us as members of the council and the governor.
Credit Bureau project, what it entails?
Okay, thank you for the question. So the Credit Bureau, if you're familiar with other places in the world like Canada and the United States, you would hear of a credit bureau, a credit registry where you can get a credit score. And that's very important for your ability to access credit. In those large countries, developed countries, you cannot access credit. The terms on which you access credit really are dependent on your credit score. So what we've observed in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union is that some of our lending institutions are somewhat reluctant to lend because they do not have credit scores. They do not have information on potential borrowers. The idea of the Credit Bureau is to create a service that banks, credit unions, and other financial institutions will use as a basis to determine the credit scores of individuals, and that will help them. And frankly spoken, the better your score, the better the terms that you get. And that's important. So it's about access, creating more access to financing for our people, and it is also about, to the extent possible, improving the terms, i.e. lowering the rate that they will pay. So the way it will work is that the financial institutions will subscribe to the service. They will then use that information to assess applications, and we believe that that will, in addition to assisting with access to credit, it will also help our financial institutions to make better decisions about the loans that they make. And this is a very important issue because, as the chairman alluded earlier, we do have some high non-performing loans in the system. And our intention is to address that issue in part by the establishment of a credit bureau. So we see this as an important development because it signals a modernization of our financial system. Any and every modern financial system we know of has a credit bureau. And if you look closer to home, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, they already exist. And so we're now finally getting to the point where we'll have the same service in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union.
Good afternoon, Head Table. Eugenia Peters from GBN. Prime Minister, congratulations on your appointment. First of all, can you speak to your plans in your capacity for the Monetary Council? If you can give us some specifics, and of course, particularly how Grenada stands to benefit from you being at the helm.
I think we listed a number of items. I would wish I had my document here that I plan to look at specifically with within the context of the Monetary Council, and a number of issues related to the development in the region as a whole. The whole question of credit is going to be an issue. The question of economic activity in the region. The question of the problem related to the banking system and some of the threats that we face in the region, regionally and internationally, and the way some of those countries are imposing things on us without even giving us a chance. They set up their own formula for everything, and we have to accept it. I remember the whole question of some of the activities that we have been told that we must obey. How they impose the system, they don't even tell us, well, look, we have a chance to look at some of these items, but because they're big, it is said when you're big, you're bad, so to speak. And we don't think that's the way the world should operate. They look at the CBI program, the way they impose their conditions on us, the way the EU set up systems and they tell us we have to live under those rules. We don't believe the world should be operating in this manner where some people have a chance to improve themselves and make serious opportunities for their citizens, and others should not, because this is a community. And all these things are things that I just wanted to note some of the issues I raised specifically during my presentation this morning. I just want to give you, we're dealing with the threat of de-risking, which I just mentioned, the threat of addressing bank fees and charges, how we deal with this, because we know that's a concern. And we're talking to the banking sector, and the Monetary Council will be doing it. The credit bureau issue, which I mentioned earlier on. Eastern Caribbean partial credit guarantee, we spoke about that. And of course, the question of the fintech regulation and supervision. We also believe that's an area we must, some of the issues that we're facing with the technology, where some of the ways in which you do business financially has been changed technologically, and some of the rules that we have to put in place to be able to protect our economy and our country as a whole. A number of those issues we have to work on.
On that point, Prime Minister, may I also get your views on the much talked about trade war, US, China, EU? There is talk a lot of the trickle-down effect.
Well, we believe in free trade. The world has, over the years, the last how many years, have gone through that period of where trade is seen as something that all of us must work closely within the whole trade issues. But we notice it now with the present administration, where the issue of tariffs being posed by one country and withdrawing and threatening to withdraw from the WTO, the whole trading system of the world can be affected. And I don't know if this is clearly understood, the impact of these decisions taken by one country is going to be affected. And even in that country, you have serious division within the Congress and, of course, the executive branch. So it is a serious issue. We are very concerned. We are very concerned about Brexit. All these are issues that will affect us. We are so small in this global environment that any time things like this occur, we will feel the pain if it's not settled. Hopefully, common sense will prevail.
Yeah. Just to, in furtherance with the chairman, the impact this trade wars will have on us is that you will see an increase in oil prices, and we all know what the increase in oil prices will mean for yourself and for myself and all of us who use goods and services. You'll also see an increase in the prices and the cost of goods and indeed services for us. So I agree with you, it's an important subject matter that we have to continue to pay attention to. It is not the direction that the world should be taking. There should be greater collaboration and cooperation among states. The United States may have a concern, but it would be better to approach it in a different manner. These trade wars will not benefit any one of us, and we will see a huge impact. And I think in some instances we're already feeling it, feeling the impact. And at this time in our region, we can ill afford to have an increase in oil prices, an increase in goods and services. So we really, in these small islands, have no role to play in it. We can only urge and caution the bigger countries in addressing this matter differently. But we're hoping that good sense will prevail, and that heads will be cooled down, and people can have discussions. As we've seen with the President of the United States and the President of the European Council. There were discussions, and there appear to be some movement towards some agreements. So we'd like to see that extended to the different superpowers across the world.
Mr. Antoine, recently the ECCB issued a warning regarding the use of bitcoins to users. So how close are we towards regulation?
That's a really good question, because we are very much focused on this issue of working together. So 3 weeks ago, the regulators in the ECCU, that is to say the GAFIN in Grenada, for example, the Financial Service Commission in Dominica, the Financial Services Commission in St. Kitts and Nevis, and all the other commissions, we met to discuss this very issue of regulation and supervision of financial technology. We all agree, we believe that financial technology, called fintech, is a very important part of our development and transformation going forward. But we also recognize for it to grow in an orderly and impactful way, positively impactful way, it has to be regulated. It has to be supervised. And so we've agreed that we are going to take a regional approach as far as is possible, because individually it is going to be difficult for single countries to address these issues. There are a lot of things that are happening in the space. There are initial coin offerings, peer-to-peer lending, digital wallets, crypto assets, cryptocurrencies, among others. And we're also working with the international community. So as a central bank, for example, we have been working, discussing our ideas and sharing experiences with Bank of Canada, Bank of Sweden, Bank of England, central banks within the region. So we expect in the next few months to give some articulation of that framework and to come to the Monetary Council with some suggestions for how that will be done. I must tell you that it's really important that we do that with the industry. So the regulators are speaking to the industry, the players in the industry, to better understand the needs. So for example, the ECCB announced we will do a pilot on blockchain technology. We are in fact pursuing that pilot. We are in fact designing the parameters, and we have been in constant dialogue and consultation with banks, financial institutions, fintech operators, and of course the international community to understand what the needs are. But why are we so concerned about this? If we do nothing, then there are risks that abound, including money laundering, lack of investor protection, so people can lose their money, and of course other things like price volatility. If you look at Bitcoin, for example, in December it was 14,000. By March, April of this year it was down to 7,000. Price volatility. So these are real risks. So there are opportunities, but there are also risks. And our role is to try to, as we said this morning, maximize the opportunities and minimize the risks. So in sum, we are working on this issue. In a sense, we're playing catch up. But I expect over the next few months, we will be able to put something before the Monetary Council in terms of some guidance on how we proceed with this particular enterprise. And it is very important for our development, so we need to do it.
In regards to 4.0 in the communique, in regards to BICO and CLICO situation, can you just please simplify, give some dollars and cents, and where are we headed moving forward with that situation?
So that is continuing progress, work in progress, and you would be pleased to know, well, I don't know if it will be comfort to you, but every meeting of the Monetary Council, this matter comes up for, we get a report and the council is apprised. So for policyholders who are out there who feel that they're forgotten, or they've been ignored, I want to tell you that the Monetary Council examines this issue at every meeting. And the council convenes at least 3 times a year. Last December, under the plan of arrangement, which was passed in all of our countries, we were able to pay out about $65 million based on the funds that were available. And most people who were eligible for that $65 million, that payout, have in fact received their money. So we're pleased about that. As we speak, the judicial managers are continuing their work to try and track assets, and the next payout will be dependent on their ability to track those assets and to reach, in some cases, settlements with particular people. So there's prosecution or actions in Trinidad and in Florida aimed at being able to extract more resources from those assets. Keep in mind, our monies, the policyholders' monies, were used to buy these assets. So it's now to try to find a way to recover as much as possible. And whatever they recover, there will be eventually another payout. I have no timetable on that at this time, but again, I just want to assure the people of the ECCU that this issue remains before the Monetary Council.
I just want to add that I think it's known that a group of Grenadian policyholders have taken legal action against the Trinidad and Tobago government to recover their assets. So that's another aspect to the ongoing saga, so to speak.
Economic growth projection of 1.7% in 2018. Can you speak to some of the factors that will spur this growth?
Yeah, well, essentially, I mean, it's some of our countries are recovering from the hurricane. So and Prime Minister Dominique can speak to this in detail. A lot of the funds and the building, we will see more of that in 2019. And so our expectation is for a significant improvement in growth next year. We also obviously are going to be helped by what is going on in the US economy. You saw the numbers coming out this morning. The last quarter was 4%. That's very good, and that will potentially help us in terms of tourism and remittances and foreign direct investment.
But just to say, as Grenada, as far as the Grenada economy is concerned, as you know, we said the growth was 5.8 last year, the highest in the region. But so far this year, for half of the year, the numbers are looking even better than last year. We had the first 6 months, we had over 40% growth in construction. And you know construction is one of the most major factors in economic growth. And the other area of serious activities is stay-over arrivals. Tourism, 10.7%, 10 plus. In cruise ship arrivals, 26% increase. Agriculture, both cocoa and nutmeg, has increased over double digit. And there's every single area. Services is showing enormous, the retail sector is showing enormous buoyancy. So we don't see, although the ministry is conservatively saying about 3.5%, we do not see the numbers falling below that of last year. Given where the first 6 months have gone, we expect to see pretty robust growth again. And with that, the whole question of correlated employment opportunities will occur. So we feel good, but of course what the governor has done is give you the overall for the entire economic union. But in the Grenada case, we believe we stand to do significantly better. I want to thank you, colleagues, for your presence here this afternoon, and I know it's been a long day for you, so thank you again, and all the best. Thank you on behalf of the council.
Thanks.